Bring the evidence. Court allows new submissions as justice starts to hear Vybz Kartel's appeal against his murder conviction. Good evening and welcome to Primetime News, on air and online at onespotmedia.com. I'm Herman Green.
And I'm Doreen Samuels. Also this evening, fire him or else. PNP makes threat to withdraw support for government's agenda if Dr. Andrew Wheatley remains in the cabinet.
Not now. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says vote on Caribbean Court of Justice is not priority at this time.
Heating up, Philip Polwell, the latest to indicate he seeks post as one of the party's vice presidents.
Improve the offer. Police hold hope for better wages.
And in business news, falling, the reserves dip in June.
There's also sports commentary and weather in this newscast, but before the break, the feedback question.
This evening we're asking, should Dr. Andrew Wheatley be stripped of all ministerial responsibilities? Give reasons for your answer.
Share comments online, facebook.com/Television Jamaica, and tweet us at Television Jam.
Please stay with us. Primetime News returns after this break.
Welcome back to Primetime News.
A special welcome to folks on onespotmedia.com.
First up this evening, dancehall entertainer DJ Palmer, popularly known as Vybz Kartel, and 3 co-convicts have been given permission to introduce fresh evidence as they challenge their murder convictions.
This follows today's ruling from the Court of Appeal. TVJ's Andrea Chisholm was in court today and now joins us live. Andrea?
Thank you very much, Herman and Doreen. Well, Vybz Kartel and his co-convicts are back in the news again, and this time they are appealing their murder convictions. The courtroom was full to capacity this morning. There was not even standing room. As the 3-member panel, Court of Appeal President Dennis Morrison, Justice Patrick Brooks, and Justice Frank Williams presided over the matter.
In 2014, Adisha Palmer, popularly known as Vybz Kartel, Sean Campbell, known as Sean Storm, Kahira Jones, and Andre St. John were convicted for the 2011 murder of Clive Lizard Williams. Vybz Kartel was sentenced to life in prison and has to serve 35 years before being eligible for parole. The Court of Appeal ruled on Monday that lawyers representing the men were allowed to introduce fresh evidence relating to the case.
We think that this is a great day for justice in Jamaica.
Bert Samuels, who represents Sean Storm, summarized some of the arguments made by the legal team.
On the application of QC Nita Robertson, she got the statements that are being used in the Hertfordshire Parish Court, where the same DPP's office is prosecuting the juror, and there are statements to say that the jurors were listened to the tape recordings by the foreman juror in the jury room, which is scandalous. That ought not to have happened.
Defense attorneys argued that the trial judge should have discharged the jury and declare a mistrial once the matter was brought to the judge's attention. One of the jurors was arrested and charged following allegations that he approached the foreman to swing the verdict in Kartel's favor. That case is still before the Halfway Tree Parish Court.
It may amaze the public to know that Sean Campbell was not allowed to go in the judge's chambers when matters regarding the bribing of a juror was being decided on, and the judge took a decision in chambers behind the backs of the accused persons.
And the Court of Appeal has reduced the 3-week period it initially set aside to hear submissions. Since submissions were made in writing, Justice Dennis Morrison said starting Monday, July 16, each appellant will be given 1 day to make a case. Mr. Samuel said his submission was roughly 140 pages and took issue with the response from the prosecution led by Jeremy Taylor.
Is that 140 pages of arguments, and the DPP has made 1.5 pages of response. That to me is telling. It shows that they have no response to what we have put forward before this Court of Appeal. What that is going to lead to, and I'm no prophet here, I know what is going to happen. He's going to come to court and seek to go outside of his response and catch us by surprise, which we call in law try to ambush us. It won't happen in this appeal, I must tell you.
Andrea Chisholm, TVJ News.
The parliamentary opposition has threatened to withdraw its cooperation with the government if Dr. Andrew Wheatley continues to serve in the cabinet. The PNP says the evidence supporting its stance that Dr. Wheatley should not hold any ministerial post is overwhelming. TVJ's Giovanni Dennis reports.
Fire Dr. Andrew Wheatley or else. The ultimatum from President of the People's National Party, Dr. Peter Phillips, to Prime Minister Andrew Holness.
Failure on the part of the Prime Minister to act in this matter will force the opposition to review our collaboration with the government inside Parliament and outside.
Dr. Wheatley was stripped of the energy portfolio last week, but still sits in the cabinet as Science and Technology Minister. The PNP says if he remains, it could withdraw its participation in the recently reintroduced Vale Royal talks. Support for the government's legislative agenda will also come up for review. For the PNP, the refusal to fire Dr. Wheatley is among a number of cases in which the Prime Minister has failed to act.
You could go back to the firearm licensing authority scandal, you go back to the police used car scandal, you go back to the debushing. In every single case when he has had an opportunity to act, he has not acted. His words are hollow, quite frankly, on the issue of corruption. He has fallen short of what is expected of a Prime Minister in every single case.
For Dr. Phillips, the Petrojam saga highlights how the current administration operates.
In this area, as in the case with crime and crime management, we are seeing much more public relations gimmickry than we are seeing sound management of the affairs of the country.
He asserts that Jamaica's Venezuelan partners are dissatisfied with how the affairs at Petrojam are being managed.
This further set of reported breaches will further dampen the confidence of the Venezuelan partners and indeed of any prospective partner who would want to participate in the operations of Petrojam.
Operations at Petrojam have been the focus of public outrage for more than a month following allegations of nepotism, financial mismanagement and hiring practices. Giovanni Dennis, TVJ News.
In the meantime, the PNP also responded to comments in the public domain that it has no moral authority to speak on matters of corruption. PNP President Dr. Peter Phillips says his party does not have a perfect record, but maintained that when issues arose, action was taken.
Whether it was Operation Pride, a minister was removed. Whether it was in relation to other matters, ministers were removed. Is our record perfect in the past? I don't know that I would claim perfection, but I would claim that it is better than any other party in Jamaica.
He argues that now that he is at the helm, ethical standards will be upheld.
That the buck rests with me. I can give the assurance that the high principles inscribed in the legacy of Norman Washington Manley, which really represents the gold standard as far as integrity is concerned, are the principles which will guide me in the conduct of my responsibilities as President of the People's National Party.
In the meantime, the Jamaica Umbrella Group of Churches, along with the National Integrity Action, have asked to meet with both the opposition and the government to discuss concerns of accountability. Dr. Phillips says the PNP welcomes civil society's interest and is ready for such dialogue.
Another member of the People's National Party has announced an intention to run for vice president of the party. Member of Parliament for Kingston Eastern and Port Royal, Philip Polwell, outlined his plan at a PNP constituency conference meeting at the Noon Technical High School on Sunday.
The PNP's annual conference is just over 2 months away. It's the highest decision-making body of the party, and where party members vote for their leaders. The list of those aspiring to be one of the 4 vice presidents is getting longer. Member of Parliament for Kingston Eastern and Port Royal, Philip Polwell, is the latest to declare his candidacy.
I'm offering myself because I connect.
Mr. Polwell is the chairman of the PNP's Region 3, which covers constituencies in Kingston and St. Andrew. He will be looking to that base for support. September 2016 was the last time there was a challenge for the VP positions. Dr. Angela Brown-Burke, Dr. Fenton Ferguson, Noel Arscott, and Dr. Wickham McNeil were successful in their bids. Lisa Hanna, a 5th candidate, was the sole loser. For this year's conference, all 4 VPs will be seeking re-election. But in addition to facing Mr. Polwell, they will also face Senator Damian Crawford, who indicated recently that he wants to be one of the party's vice presidents.
May I offer myself? Everybody offering themselves because they have some value. May I offer myself? Respect.
That statement has already sparked controversy. Some believe that, based on previous clashes with party figures like Dr. Brown Burke, Mr. Crawford will face major hurdles in his quest. But he has been playing down that suggestion.
And one of the things they were saying is that I said that PMP is fighting me. And I can't say that. Because they look on the response when me get just by announcing, and you're PMP. The minister, the leader of the opposition, Peter Phillips, I introduced him for his first thing coming in as leader. Not only did I introduce him, after that I spoke at his conference. So I couldn't say him a fight me, and I couldn't say the party a fight me.
There are also unofficial reports that Michael Phillips, the son of the PNP leader, may also be vying for a VP position.
There is still no definitive timeline for when Jamaica will hold a referendum on whether to make the Caribbean Court of Justice, CCJ, the country's final appellate court. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says the government still intends to put the matter to a public vote. He was responding to questions from journalists at a press conference following the CARICOM Heads of Government meeting in Montego Bay, St. James on Friday. TVJ's Vashon Brown has more.
Leading up to the last general election, Andrew Holness, who was then opposition leader, promised that his government would hold a public vote on whether the Caribbean Court of Justice, CCJ, should be Jamaica's final appellate court. The CCJ was established 13 years ago to replace the London-based Privy Council as the region's final court of appeal. At a CARICOM press conference on Friday, Prime Minister Andrew Holness was asked about a timeline for the public vote on the CCJ.
As we have said, when we were in opposition, we maintain our position in government that at an appropriate time, this is a matter that the Jamaican people should speak on in a referendum. And that has been our position, and it has not changed.
When, sir?
At an appropriate time.
Prime Minister of St. Lucia, Alan Shastany, says there is a view in his country that the matter should be put to a referendum, but for him, it's not a priority at this time.
I think coming out of this meeting, it's something that we will always continue to give due consideration to. And at the appropriate time, we'll make the announcement. But right now, we're very much focused on growing our economy, resolving the high unemployment rate that we have, resolving the debt problem that we have, and putting ourselves in a position, a much more financially viable position.
Grenada and Antigua and Barbuda are the only countries in the region that absolutely require a referendum to accede to the appellate jurisdiction of the court. Prime Minister of Grenada, Dr. Keith Mitchell, says his country is gearing up for its second referendum on the CCJ. In November 2016, Grenadians voted against accepting the CCJ as their final court. In Antigua and Barbuda, the government says it will have a public vote on the matter in the coming months. Just before the opening ceremony for the CARICOM Heads of Government meeting last week, Justice Adrian Saunders was sworn in as the new CCJ president.
I'm extremely heartened to learn that the Prime Ministers of these states have recently publicly indicated their desire and intention, respectively, to hold such a poll with a view to joining the states of Guyana, Barbados, Belize, and Dominica in sending their final appeals to the CCJ.
Justice Saunders says he believes the logical decision to make the CCJ the final court of appeal will be taken by the other countries in the region sooner rather than later. Vashon Brown, TVJ News. Our top story this evening, bring the evidence. Court allows new submissions as justice starts to hear Vybz Kartel appeal against his murder conviction. Still ahead, improve the offer. Police hold hope for better wages. And in business news, falling. BOJ reports that net international reserves, NIR, dipped in June. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. Continuing the news. Residents of Standpipe today staged another protest demanding answers for the fatal shooting of 26-year-old Shay Williams. Williams was killed by the police on July 2. The protest led to a standoff with the police. TVJ's Anthony Lugg reports.
Last Monday, residents of Standpipe took to the streets with fire and debris. A week later, they journeyed to the office of the police commissioner to stage a protest.
He was not a wrongdoer. He was so loving. He has so many dreams and aspirations. That's all he needed. That's all he needed to go on, and them just cut it short.
The protesters insist 26-year-old Shay Williams was killed innocently by police on July 2.
I have no is the lie, and I swear on my own life. I was there when my grandma, everybody came out, and because the police were looking for the spent shell, the fire shut off us, and we had to run in our own community, in our own yard. That is not right.
But head of the Constabulary Communication Unit CCU, Delia Garrick, gave this account of the incident.
About 8:30 last night, the police had a confrontation, reportedly with two men on a motorcycle, one of whom reportedly pulled a firearm at the police, and he was fatally shot.
The protest caused tension. Scores of police were called in to monitor traffic delays caused by the protesters. Councillor for the Papine Division, Venetia Phillips, provided assistance.
I am here to just make sure that the citizens and the police don't have a standoff, because you have to understand that they are, they are upset at the moment, and they're emotional because they've lost one of their own, someone who they say is not, a troubled person. And so they're willing to put their own integrities on the line to say this is somebody who did not deserve to die this way. And so it is important for the police high command to give the kind of reassurance to the community that they're going to ensure that, no stone will be left unturned in terms of making sure that justice is served in this matter.
The Independent Commission of Investigation, INDICOM, is investigating the matter. Anthony Lugg, TVJ News.
The Police Federation is now reviewing the latest response from the government to its wage claim. Both parties met over a week ago to continue wage talks. The Federation has rejected the government's 4-year wage proposal. It has been urging the Ministry of Finance to focus on improving the low wages being offered to constables. The Federation says its members are restive and is urging the government to offer a meaningful wage increase to end the impasse.
Bad roads and poor or no water supply crippling rural Jamaica. TVJ's Krista Campbell journeyed to several remote communities in St. Catherine and St. Mary to bring you tales from residents who say the lack of basic amenities is threatening a major economic activity, farming.
Whole heap of land, but there's no farmer, because it makes sense them farm, because there's nothing to carry out the produce.
A picture of decay painted by residents in rural St. Catherine and St. Mary. In the center of that image, a once booming agriculture sector. Donnet Daly recounts when she was a child and vendors would prepare to go to the market on Saturday mornings.
One market lady has a packet, find another one down there, so they're busy packing their load, and the market truck is coming to the square to pick up the loads, and they're gone in the morning. They don't have any problem. No, nobody can't pack anything for go anywhere, because no truck not to carry them go anywhere.
Residents say the only truck that travels the Pear Tree Grove main road now no longer transports market vendors but construction material. Farms like the one behind me here in Windsor Castle now largely exist as a way to feed one's family. Farmers and vendors alike lamenting the struggles they say have driven many in and around the area away from agriculture. Others, still enduring the struggles, say they have little or no other alternative to earn a living.
You see my produce here, we take it out from last night to this morning. The truck come for me like 1 o'clock tonight. 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, I'm just getting into the market because of the road condition.
Farm roads so bad, getting in farm materials is quite a challenge.
You have to go to a place in Windsor Castle that's about 2 miles from here. You have to walk with the fertilizer on your head from that distance because the taxi are a problem.
Councillor for the Troja Division in St. Catherine Northeastern, William Sital, says MP Leslie Campbell is in dialogue with the contractor who's undertaking roadworks in another section of the area.
For the area, what they are planning to do is to rip up the roadway, to get rid of those trenches and gutters in the roadway and roll it in so that it can be easily passable to pedestrian and vehicular traffic.
Another challenge for the farmers, the absence of a consistent water supply.
My husband's pump just burnt up because he was trying to pump from the river to the farm, and it's a half a mile uphill. So the pump couldn't manage the pressure.
The political representatives say work is being done to improve the water system in some sections and to get funding for others.
I need right now just about $25 billion for a simple system. But getting it is extremely difficult. You'll perhaps find that you have to end up going to an international agency or some place like JSIF, but it takes an enormously long time to get anything done.
Meanwhile, the MP laments that access to credit remains a major challenge for farmers across Jamaica, noting that many farmers still do not own or have titles to the lands they farm on. He says it's an issue he hopes the government can adequately work to address.
Put in place a system that they could have easy access to the titles.
Krista Campbell, TVJ News.
There's a concern in Manchester about the large volume of mangoes going to waste each year and the loss of a source of revenue. Agriculture Minister Audley Shaw says he is aware of the situation and is in discussions with U.S. interests for possible exports. TVJ Shamela Mitchell has that story.
Mango season in Jamaica. During these summer months, the fruit becomes a staple, but millions of pounds still go to waste. That is true for all parishes and especially rural Manchester.
The number of trees that bear these mangoes and that eventually fall to the ground right now, in my estimation, is countless, because this situation occurs in a number of communities, such as right in Buttup, Prospect, New Forest, Comapen, Plowden, right, for etc.
Businessman Anthony Freckleton says Jamaica needs to preserve more of the seasonal fruit. Mr. Freckleton says agri-parks could play a role in collecting, grading and storing.
We can't use the cool rooms, chill rooms for that purpose. But if there is a means of preserving, especially the mangoes, where you take off the skin and in a 5-gallon pail, be able to, in a syrupy solution, be able to preserve those mangoes there.
He says many countries are making use of mangoes and Jamaica should follow suit.
The mango seed is used in Egypt for animal feed. The skin has an antioxidant in it that is very good. And as we all know, the same common mango, once you get the hair out and the seed out, it is incomparable as it relates to flavor and all of that. And as Mr. Brown mentioned about the sugar content, you can dilute it even 50%, 60%, and don't have to add any sugar to it.
Agriculture Minister Audley Shaw says the government is trying to get mangoes on the shelves of supermarkets in the U.S.
The Cabinet of Jamaica has just recently approved a program working with the United States Department of Agriculture that we are going to introduce a process called irradiation, a special treatment of mangoes that will allow us to be able to export Jamaican mangoes into the United States market.
Shamela Mitchell, TVJ News.
In this week's edition of A Ray of Hope, special needs youths feted with a graduation ball they'll never forget.
Brought to you by...
It's your chance to pay absolutely nothing down all day, every day on 3 to 36 months credit with Courts Ready Finance.
Pampering of a different kind. Something these women aren't used to, but very much deserving of. All in celebration of their academic achievement. Limousine, red carpet, special drink in a champagne flute. The graduates of the Woodlawn School of Special Education in Mandeville escorted to a ball organized just for them. Organizer and parent Paulette Doman says special needs youths deserve the same novelties able-bodied graduates get.
I see Knox having their graduation ball and dinner. I see DC, I see all the Manchester High and all the high schools around me. And I said, listen, this cannot happen because personally, I have my daughter to deal with, and I know that she loves everything that is bling. And she had told me years ago before graduation, Mommy, when I graduate, I want a limousine. And I said, if she is aware of that, then the other students are also aware of that and would need that. And we need to validate them. We need to make them feel extra special.
On the inside, decor suiting the occasion. Parents hugged and sang with their children as they danced the night away.
This is what the kids need, love and attention. You understand what I'm saying? If you don't give them love, they're not going to feel what is love.
I'm speechless because to see the limousine, the settings, and all of these things, wow.
I know they don't get much of this, so I'm so happy to let them experience all of that.
In every adversity, there's a seed of greater benefit. What we must do is come together as a family, a larger family of the community, and let us find that seed of greater benefit. Oftentimes it's in the hearts and minds and the souls of these beautiful young people.
Ms. Doman says not everyone with special needs have restrictions and therefore should not be left out.
Because I have cerebral palsy and I walk differently, because I talk differently, or even because I can't speak, or because I have a lower intellectual acuity than you, does not mean that I am less than you. And if we cannot open our hearts and our pockets and everything that we have to facilitate these children, then honestly, it makes no sense we exist.
With a ray of hope, I'm Ken Morgan.
A Ray of Hope is
Brought to you by
Sports bringing value home. On 3 to 36 months credit with Courts Ready Finance.
And it's time now for responses from those of you on social media. Of course, our feedback question today is, should Dr. Andrew Wheatley be stripped of all ministerial responsibilities? And we ask you to give reasons for your answers. Well, Jonathan Kirkcaldy, he says, how can you try a man without proper evidence? PNP not fooling anyone. Why them not answer traffic guru or no? Julian Dixon, he says, he should have been. I guess the Prime Minister is more interested in putting friend and company in his party over the people of this country who deserve better representation. Hashtag failing Prime Minister. Brahma Brahm says, why not? He definitely should until this inquiry is over. Christine Reed said, why should he? There is the audit and MOCA report. Dr. Wheatley is going nowhere. Send your comments to facebook.com/televisionjamaica and tweet us at televisionjam. The business day and news from overseas after the break.